Hello, I'm Dr. Dennis McKenna. As always, I'm joined by Dr. Venditti, our hospital director. Today is Incident Command Day 32, providing you the update from Albany Medical Center on the coronavirus. The numbers from the 5 counties, Albany, Rensselaer, Schenectady, Saratoga, and Columbia. Yesterday we were 797, today we are 814. That's a pickup of about 3% in positive cases in those 5 counties. Again, I'll remind you, many of those patients have gotten better and are fully recovered at this time. Inside here at the medical center, we currently have 76 patients that we're currently treating for COVID-19. Yesterday, that number was 66. We discharged 4, so by math, obviously, we had 14 new patients. Those 14 patients came in 4 different ways. We had some patients who presented to the emergency department who were identified as having COVID-19 and got admitted. We had some people who were already in the hospital who were a PUI, a patient under investigation, who now we can confirm have COVID-19. And we took transfers not only from the region, of which we took 2, as well as down from Queens, 5 who came here from 2 days ago, hit our numbers. So that's the pickup in 14. In the region, Fred, I think the numbers are still flat.
That's right, Dennis. So every day we get on a call with 11 other hospitals in the region, and we've been hovering around 200 to 206 admitted patients across all 12 hospitals in our region, and today was no different.
Of the 76 who are in the hospital, we currently have 40 on the floor, 36 in our ICUs, of which 31 are ventilated. And I should point out at this time, we actually are caring for COVID-19 patients on 9 different units currently in the hospital. Fred, what tier are we right now? You often give us an update on our tier status.
So for floor patients, for our medicine surgery protocol, we're on tier 2. So you'll recall yesterday we're on tier 1. We've moved up to tier 2 really in anticipation. We haven't put a lot of patients on that next unit, but we wanted to make sure it was ready to go, and so that's where we are. With regards to critical care, we're on tier 3.
Tier 3.
Same thing. We've opened up some of the space up on D5 that we're going to use if we need it for critical care patients, and that's part of tier 3.
And tier 3, and we can go as high as tier
5.
Okay.
So so we've got still lots of capacity, and both moves tier 2 from tier 1 to tier 2 and from tier 2 to tier 3 were more anticipatory as opposed to we actually needed that space.
Okay, very good. So today we're wearing different shirts because there's a lot of people who have said very proudly, we'd like you to represent our area. So I'll let you go first.
Yes. I'm wearing the Children's Hospital shirt. This week is Children's Hospital Week, so shout out to all the tremendous staff in our Children's Hospital who provide excellent care for the 700,000 plus youngsters and young adults in our community.
Very good. And I'm wearing a shirt for EMS. Steve Kroll, who is our Regional EMS Council Chair, reached out to me yesterday and said, how about a shout out to the EMS community? And so we're proud to do that. We know those first responders are often the first people who will pick up patients who may or may not have COVID-19. They're an important part of our whole care delivery team, and so we're proud to represent the EMS providers today.
Great.
We actually have 3 really exciting things, I think, to talk about today. We're going to begin with an update on masks. We talk a lot about masks. Fred talks about the 3 S's, and we have, I think, a new way in which we're going to be working with our masks.
That's right. So again, the 3 S's, safety, science, and supply. And Dennis, I think this is probably science and supply. So we've been reusing the N95 masks. We've been disinfecting them with UV light. We've developed a new way now using hydrogen peroxide gas, which has been approved by the FDA as an even better way of disinfecting those masks. And it's better simply because we can do it more frequently. We can actually reuse those masks after disinfection up to 20 times. So a significant increase in our ability to use those masks. So very exciting. We'll start that really in full force tomorrow.
Sounds like it's actually safe too.
It's very safe. There's no telltale smell of the hydrogen peroxide. It all evaporates, but it does disinfect just as well as UV light.
Fantastic. And we want to talk about some research activities here. We are an academic medical center. We do clinical care, we do education, and we do research. And there are several clinical trials currently taking place right here on this campus that are involved with COVID-19. There's an investigational drug called remdesivir, which many other academic medical centers are using, and we're currently doing some research trials with that. And so we're proud to announce that. That's a drug that's put out by Gilead, a large pharmaceutical company, which is involved in the treatment of COVID-19. The research that's happening, there's a couple of other areas: pulmonary critical care, infectious disease, pharmacy, our IRB, which is our Investigational Review Board. They're all working on these activities. We've had two questions that we get asked a lot lately, so let's talk about them. One is called antibody testing. Are we going to do antibody testing here at Albany Medical Center? Let's talk about ELISA, E-L-I-S-A, which is enzyme-linked immunosorbent assays. That's a way where you can draw the blood from a patient and you can check whether or not they have antibodies to a particular bacteria or virus. An antibody is a protein made by a plasma cell. So, for example, we've done this in the past. We can check whether or not, using ELISA testing, somebody has been exposed to hepatitis. It's really important to know going forward whether or not someone's been exposed to COVID-19. So I think we have something exciting to talk about here.
So that we absolutely do, Dennis. We're going to hopefully be starting that testing in about 2 weeks. The test actually can be extraordinarily helpful in determining not only whether you've been exposed, but when you've been exposed. When you develop antibodies, the first antibody you develop is something called IgM. That happens very soon after your infection. If you've been exposed a long time ago, that tends to recede, and then it's replaced by an antibody called IgG. And so the mix of those two gives us a sense of when your infection was as well.
So in a couple weeks, if a physician writes a prescription, a patient will be able to come in here and be tested, and they'll be told whether or not they had COVID-19 or not.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, very good.
Absolutely.
So the other exciting thing to talk about is something called convalescent plasma. And Fred, I'm going to let you take the first crack at describing what that is.
So those same antibodies that you develop that we can measure in that ELISA test, if we were able to take them from your body through a process called plasmapheresis, can be infused into someone who's sick to help them get over their illness. And that's called convalescent plasma. So we actually are hoping that we're going to do our first patient later this afternoon. We've become part of a protocol that is operating out of Mayo Clinic out in Minnesota. We have to identify a specific donor. And that's someone who was infected in the past at least 14 days ago. Between 14 and 28 days, we have to retest them to make sure they still are not shedding virus. After 28 days, we can just harvest their antibodies and then infuse them into that patient, that critically ill patient. The criteria for patients who can go into this protocol are very, very specific. This is really for the sickest of the sick population that we're trying to save.
And so, if you're somebody who had COVID-19, you might be interested in seeing whether or not you could be a donor.
Absolutely.
So let me get this phone number right. It's 518-262-9340. We'll make sure that number's on the screen. There'll be a phone tomorrow starting at 9 o'clock. People can call that number and see whether or not they are a candidate to do this, which would be remarkable. And we're working with the Red Cross on that as well.
We are. The Red Cross will be where the plasmapheresis is performed. Our laboratory will do some testing, and then the materials will be infused here in our intensive care units.
All right. Well, that sounds like some incredible news. So we look forward to that. So like I said, some good news today, some good updates today, and that's what we have. We'll be back again tomorrow. Once again, we thank all of you who are on the front lines like EMS or inside the hospital here caring for patients. We ask that you please take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll see you tomorrow.